Yeah.
So with that, Jess, I hope you're prepared to answer some questions and hear some comments. I think we'll just open the floor now. If you want to speak, you raise your hand. I see a hand raised. David Matt.
Hi, Robert and Jez. That was very interesting to hear what you had to say, Jez. And Robert, you know, I'm kind of a student of your writing and your work, and you know, you expressed that you agreed with a lot of what Jez was saying, and I'm kind of a word fanatic, and Jez was talking about character and personality, character good, personality bad, basically, and I wonder how that ties in with some of the terminology you've used in your writing.
Can I interject there?
Sure.
So I understand the broad sweep of that is character good, personality bad, but in actuality, that kind of thinking I found is not helpful. The way I see it is it's seeing what is rather than labeling good or bad. And if I found that, you know, people label ego bad, and the reason I use personality partly is because I wanted to get away from that. So I don't see personality as, I know you probably don't mean this, but I'm just using it as a springboard to talk about this. I don't see personality as bad. I see it as something that happens, and there's something people identify with, and that has consequences. And I think that is the way to view it. That's the way I view it. Otherwise, it becomes like the bogeyman, and that's really not what this is. It's really just seeing life as it is. And this is something that I've seen. I don't really cast it as bad. Please continue.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. But I still think I'm interested in Robert's response to my question. The terminology that Robert might have used in his writing that relates to this kind of character as opposed to personality.
Oh, well, we all have a personality. Can't erase that. It's imposed on us by what Jez is calling character comes into the world as an infant, and the infant is immediately subjected to all kinds of pressures depending on the parents and the larger cultural surround and the time and place of birth. All of this begins to mold survival skills, and a lot of those survival skills are things that we would call personality. For example, I may learn to be polite, and the politeness that I have learned will be an aspect of personality. Whereas what Jez was talking about before, which is a kind of joy and gentleness, if you have that, you don't really have to be polite, you see? So it's not that you erase your personality, but you find something in you that shines brighter than the personality. So the personality continues. I mean, some people are just nervous in nature, and so they're always acting out anxiety trips. Other people, you mentioned being confident. So then you also have a personality that relies on confidence until it breaks down, as you were saying. So for me, personality is kind of like a friend you might have who's not quite with it, and you help him or her by being understanding. And like this is silly. I really do this. If I get into a bad mood or I'm sad or something, I will embrace myself just like this, and I'll say to myself out loud if there's no one around, "It's okay, Robert. You'll be okay." See, and that is the character or the self talking to the personality. It's like taking care of the personality. I don't know if you agree with that, Jez. Let me turn it over to you for comment.
Yes, I do. It's. I do feel though that my experience is that some aspects of my personality start to lose traction and fade. That's what's happened for me. And as the character, I like the way you expressed it, it shines through. Um, Life becomes more informed by joy when it is, you know, an ability to perceive joy. But like I said, I want to bring it back to the other qualities that I mentioned of fulfilling engagement with life, which means that it's not just joy, but there is a greater capacity to joy, I've found very much since this has happened. And the other side is that if there is pain, there's pain, and there's absolutely no part of me that's running away from it. Because what I learned in that breakdown is that the breakdown for me became my greatest teacher I've ever had, and I'm sure will ever have. And the moment I accepted it as a teacher was when things started getting a lot easier. Um, it was like an, you know, the true meaning of the word awe-inspiring, terrifying teacher that could kind of bring me down with, you know, a look, bang, smashed to the floor again. But I just, something in me decided to use it to learn, and it became my teacher, and I did learn from it. And the learning, what I learned from it was this identification with what I thought I was, got this did get dismantled. And in that, things that I thought were me, I realized weren't me, and they started to fade because I was no longer kind of invested in them. I was no longer giving them the power that to run this life. So I have found, I mean, you may disagree, but I have found that there is a movement in which those aspects of personality, the way I use personality, for example, if there's a pattern of fear or something, there's this perspective that comes in, which means that because I'm not identified with that person who has those investments, that light shines through and allows me a perspective that deals with it. Now, it doesn't mean I don't feel the hurt or the anger, but it does pass through. And it's not that I'm surrendering, but a surrender happens that, well, you can't change it because it's what's happening. So it's what's happening. There seems to be a kind of evolution that happens. And that doesn't mean I'm focusing on the future. When I get through this, I'll be better. Not at all. My message, if I have one, and I don't know whether you agree with this, is that there are some parts of suffering that can fall away. And I'm aware that that may be slightly contentious with you, but it's an interesting subject we could discuss.
Sorry, because my internet connection here is so buggy. You said there was something I might not agree with. Can you repeat that? Because I wasn't clear on what it was.
What I'm saying is that may be different, I don't know, is that rather than saying you're just stuck with your personality as it is, what I've observed is that those strategies of personality and strong emotions can fall away to some degree, at least, to quite a big degree, actually. So that what is living the life, it's not lived by those beliefs anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That certainly can happen.
Yeah.
I think what you and I might agree on, these are very fine points. What we might agree on is that even if that doesn't happen, it's okay too, because what is. And that seems to be key to the entire matter. When one arrives at seeing things as they are, then
Yeah.
we only have this moment we really have to deal with, and we don't have to really know if my personality will improve or fall away or it won't.
Sure. I was going to say the one that is perceiving that, which I would call the choiceless awareness, is the one that sees through or embraces whatever is still there. I've found that these get exposed, and it's almost like a process of, they've got no validity anymore. The vine has been cut at its root, and they kind of lose their power. And it's a dangerous thing to say, because I know that it can feed into an idea of seeking and it will be better in the future. But as you've just said, it's absolutely not based on that at all. I'm merely recounting something I'm observing, and I don't need it to happen, if you see what I mean. There's no investment. It's not like, when I get this is a phrase I use a lot. When I get this, I'll be happy. It's not. Only when I get rid of that bit of my personality. I don't even have a thing about getting rid of bits of my personality, but I'm simply saying that that seems to be something that is happening. And it seems to be a beautiful thing, because more of that light that you talked about, of the character, of the natural state, then shines through, and there's less obstruction.
Yeah, I think that's the point. There's less obstruction and more of the energetic being that we are. This aliveness can express itself freely, doesn't have to be throttled down. There were some.
Could you share what you told me about compassion, Robert? What happened with you?
I think that part of being human includes compassion. It's not something that we have to produce. It's a natural feeling that we have, but it could be occluded or obscured if we're too self-centered and don't see the other people around us as being equal to oneself. But as soon as I understand myself, I understand that everyone else has the same thing going on. Different flavors, yes, but the same basic thing, where you are the center of your world and you have your concerns and your cares and your troubles and your joys. I just see everyone like that. I just see everyone like me. I don't mean they have the same personality. I mean they have the same basic needs. And as soon as you see that, well, I'm speaking personally, as soon as I saw that, my heart just melted into a puddle. And I cry a lot. And I laugh, but I cry for this world. The pain, I'll get to you, Howard, but this seems to be on the front burner for me right now. Here we are, I'm in this Mexican town near the end of Baja California. We're very cut off from the rest of the world in a way. And here we're told now that we're going to be practicing social isolation and we have to stay home from work and all that. But the truth is, I know a lot of people who are living from hand to mouth, and they can't stay home from work. If they don't get out with the push cart or whatever it may be and work that day, they may not be able to put any food on the table for the kids. That's a fact. Now, I try to help people like that as best I can in a material way, but there's not enough material wealth coming from me to be able to fix it. And so I feel like crying when I understand that those are the people who are going to get sick because they have to continue, and some of them will die. And those of us who can afford to hide out at home, we may survive. So that's an aspect of compassion. Compassion has an element of suffering in it. If you're not willing to suffer for others, for what they feel, then compassion is just cut off. It can't flow. So in a way, okay, so You pointed out, Jez, that I'm kind of a harsh critic of the spirituality biz. And the reason I am is that so much of it is people want to learn how to be happy. And that seems like a wrong direction. I understand it. We all want to be happy. But I don't think that's the right direction. I think the right direction is to want to see things as they are, to want to have one's eyes open, if I can put it that way.